Hey booktube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you are new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face. Hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So that's why you're here, because that's what's gonna be happening today. If you are not new to me, thank you for always tuning in and the continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have a recommendations video, and this is all based off of my favorite setting. This recommendations video is actually in collaboration with 9 other ladies over here on booktube, and I will link all of them in the down box below. And our collab header, the person who created this, is none other than Beccie over at XOXOXO. She reached out to me and asked me to be part of this, and of course I said abso-fucking-lutely. She's my girl, I'm gonna do it. And this recommendations video was really interesting because it is on my favorite setting, and so I thought I had this down. But when I really sat down and thought about it, I love all different types of settings. I love small town, I love big city, I love, you know, middle of nowhere, I love fantasy, I love all these different locations. I love real places, I love fake places. I had no idea where to go with this. But something I do like. I like the dark. I like the dark a lot. I like the scary shit. I like the stuff that people have nightmares about. I like that shit. So, my recommendations are based off of the dark. And if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, and let's get talking some books. Okay, so my first recommendation is none other than this bad boy. This is Empire the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. This won my book of the year in 2022. This was my favorite book of 2022, giving it 5 stars. It is the first installment in a high dark fantasy series by Jay Kristoff. Currently, it is the only installment out, but I think 2024 is when we're supposed to be getting a second installment. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Really want another one. I need another one. But essentially, this is the first part of an interview of Gabriel de Leon, who is the last remaining Silver Saint. And a Silver Saint has some special abilities. They hunt vampires because they're half vampire. They are the product of a human and a vampire, and they have some magical abilities that allow them to be able to fight and defeat vampires. But I remind you that I said he's the final, last one, and he has to give his interview, and this is his interview. But it's told in multiple different plot points, multiple different timelines, and it's fucking fantastic. This thing was awesome. It is gothic, it is dark, it is bloody, it is angsty, it is sarcastic, it is violent, it is sexy, it is mean, it is romantic, it's endearing, it's humorous, and the lead character says things like fuck my face all the fucking time. I freaking love it. I got so many one-liners from this book. I had such a great time. But why is this one of my favorite settings? Is because of the dark world that Kristoff creates. Through this interview, he is building this world of darkness. The sun is no longer shining. It doesn't pretty much exist anymore, allowing for vampires to run rampant, okay? And we're not talking about sparkly, diamond-encrusted vampires. We're talking about the mean, scary fuckers that are vampires. This put vampires back on the map for me in a cool fucking hot way, and I loved it. I loved it. Had such a great fucking time with it. But I loved the darkness of this book. I loved how Jay Kristoff created this dark world with these dark, broody, mean, angry, fucking pissed off characters, and I was endeared to them by the end of the story. I was rooting for them. Gabriel de Leon is an asshole, okay? Straight up fucking dick. But I loved him because of all of his dark and broody just mentality, because I saw where it came from and I saw where it was going, and I loved how his mind worked, the way he was telling the story, his dark mind. I fucking loved it. And most of this book, since it is an interview, is literally in his fucking head, because he is just regurgitating stories that he was part of through this interview, and it's phenomenal. So, first recommendation for my favorite setting is The Dark Mind of Gabriel de Leon and Empire the Vampire, and it's fucking fantastic. Well, my book of the year. I did a full book review on this book. I will link it here for you guys. You can go check it out, and I had a blast with this, and I cannot wait for a book 2. Cannot wait. Can't wait for it. The next book I have to recommend is Priest by Sierra Simone. This is the first installment to the Priest series. I gave this book 4.75 stars because of a little bitty ending that I didn't like. But that's not what this is really about. This setting is one of my favorites because it is the tortured mind of Father Tyler Bell. Father Tyler Bell encounters Poppy Danforth. Poppy Danforth enters the Catholic Church to do a confession and confesses to enjoying being attracted to other men, being desired, being degraded. She confesses to all of this because she loves it, and Father Tyler Bell is spellbound by her and now faces the test of a lifetime. His chastity, his vow of chastity is put to the fucking test in this book. And this entire book is primarily told from his point of view. So we are entirely in his mindset. We are in the mindset of a man who thought he was on the right path, followed his calling, and realized he made the wrong call. And now has to revert and rethink about everything he's done and find his right path and still maintain his relationship with his God, who he still wants to maintain this relationship with him. And it's so fucking well done. Oh my God. I cannot, people, this book is, I am Roman Catholic. So there's a lot of scenes in this book that should have made me feel very uncomfortable. I should not have enjoyed this as much as I did, but God, that uncomfortable feeling just made me love this book more because the way Simone tells the story, the pain and the guilt that is laden through this book is just the perfect setting for Father Tyler Bell. Catholics, we are built on bread, wine, and guilt. That's what we're built on, people, okay? That's our trifecta. That's our holy fucking trinity, all right? And it is amazing how she does this, how she creates this environment, and yet at the same time, there is still so much beauty within his darkness. In these dark, taboo sex scenes, I hate that word fucking taboo. I just don't like it. But for lack of a better word, these dark, taboo sex scenes, we are finding the most pure romance develop between these two. We are finding it. And then we see Father Tyler Bell make the call that realize I'm on the wrong fucking path and I need to put on the right one. And he makes that ultimate decision to break away. And it's just, oh my God, rip my heart out and let it beat in front of me kind of pain. And I fucking love that. I love a book that can create a world that I am in so much pain and so much anguish, but I feel so exquisite, so turned on, so aroused. Oh my God, it's fucking epic. It's fucking epic. I love this book. I immediately bought the rest of the series, and I even bought the autographed signed copy from Sierra Simone, and I will be Father Tyler Bell's little lamb any fucking day of the week, people. I'm just saying. He's Father fucking Tyler Bell. He's right there for me, right there. He's never going away. I'm obsessed with him. Just a FYI though, there's a lot of triggers in this. Some big ones are suicide, and graphic language utilizing a degrading kink, and sexual practices in public and religious places. So if you need to know those, theirs are the triggers for this book for sure. The next book I have to talk about is one I have not read in a long time, but another dark descent into the mind of a human, and God, is it a fun fucking place to be. And that is Whatever Happened to Baby Jane by Henry Farrell. Okay, so backstory. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of my favorite movies starring the amazing Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. Oh my God, I adored that film. And I did not realize when I saw that film the first time that it was a book. I actually didn't know it was a book for a long time until I saw this in a bookstore and I realized, oh shit, it's a book. So I definitely bought the book and I read it, and the book was phenomenal. If you are not familiar with the film or the story itself, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is a story of Baby Jane Hudson and her sister Blanche Hudson. Baby Jane Hudson is a child star. Her father just dotes on her. She's beautiful. She's perfectly blonde with the ringlet curls, and she's just adorable. And she sings this song, I've Written a Letter to Daddy Who's in Heaven, and it's just fucking great. Except she does not cross over into adult stardom very well. However, her sister Blanche, who is the forgotten child while baby Jane Hudson is doing her thing when she's a kid, is overlooked, not acknowledged. When she grows up, she becomes this beautiful Hollywood starlet. And in a freak accident, she is paralyzed. And baby Jane is now set to take care of her for the rest of her life. And we are introduced these characters when they are elderly women. Blanche is living upstairs in this old estate home, and Jane Hudson basically runs her life. And Jane is fucking crazy. She's insane. And as the story progresses, we start seeing her to fall even further into the scent of madness, bringing on this very dark and eerie and creepy environment that insanity just runs rampant in. And it's so fucking good. Oh my God. The mind of baby Jane is just, she's so twisted and she's so vile to her sister. She is causing her sister to see things that she doesn't see. She terrorizes her because she can get away with it because Jane's fucking crazy, because what the fuck happened to her? And then there's a huge twist with the story, but oh my God, the environment and the setting of this story is phenomenal. It is primarily takes place in one home, but it's really the mind of baby Jane that you get lost in, and you just want to keep revisiting over and over and over again, because all these twists and turns with baby Jane, and just watching her slowly descend into madness is fucking insane, and it's crazy, and it's so well done. I had such a great time with this. If you have not read this book, you should really go read this book. I highly recommend it, and I really highly recommend that film. It's fucking amazing. Bette Davis on fucking point in that. Oh my God, I loved it. One of my top 5 favorite movies of all times. And it is in black and white, but it's amazing. It's amazing. The next book I have to recommend is The Consumer by M. Gira, and it looks like this. This is another book that I have a full book review for, and I will link it up here for you guys. This was way back in the day, back in 2016 when I first really started my channel, so it's an old review, so don't judge me for it. But this book is actually no longer in publication. It was published by Henry Rollins Publishing Company, and for me to get it, I had to sign a release form through my public library to get it years ago. And it's a collection of short stories, vignettes, and prose, and there is extremely graphic content and with heavy philosophical undertones. This book is fucking crazy. It's straight up insane. If you read the reviews on it, it says you need to have a steel stomach to read it. It's gory, it's graphic, it's might as well be fucking possessed, and they're not wrong. This is one of the few books that I have 0 triggers. I can read what the fuck ever. But this book, because of just the amount of graphic, disturbing, repulsive content in this book, there are times I had to put it down, process what I was reading before I could pick it back up, because it was just so fucking much. But the stories within this carried the craziest fucking themes that I just was like, holy shit, I felt this. I have felt this. I have felt this idea. I didn't want to acknowledge that I felt this because I would put in a mental institution, or somebody would, turn me in for fucking murder or self-harm or something like that. But I have felt this, and I know exactly what this feels like. I have enjoyed someone getting one over me, and I relished it, but I didn't want to acknowledge it to anybody. But internally, yes, I fucking did. This dark environment that Gira creates within these short stories and these vignettes is phenomenal. It's scary as fuck. It is. But it is very, very well done. And I had a grand fucking time with this book. I very, very much enjoyed this book. And if it wasn't so much to buy, I would probably own a copy of it, because I enjoyed this thing so much, and I don't really know what that says about me, but it does say that I really like the dark a lot. I like the dark. I like the dark corners of people's minds and where they can go. And you see it in this book. You see it all in this book. Heavy on the triggers, so do read your trigger warning list. But this thing was phenomenal. I gave this thing 5 stars when I read it, and I will give this thing 5 stars again because it was awesome. And back then, I just read it because I had heard about how gory and graphic it was, and that's what drew me to it. And now that I read dark, triggery books all the time now, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking love that thing even more now. And I haven't reread it yet, but I probably should because it's excellent. But it is kind of hard to get your hands on. And the last book I want to recommend is A Haunt by Kristina Maraziatis, and it looks like this. I have a full book review on this one as well, and I will link it up here. This thing I gave 4 stars, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. This is about Charlotte, who is fleeing from her home after escaping the murder of her mother, and she is inexperienced and petrified, and her companion is, her best friend is her horse and her companion, and she meets up with a notorious serial killer, and his dark past and her dark future collide, and yeah, it's fucking fantastic. And so we have a runaway, we have a serial killer, and we have a bounty hunter, and nobody is fucking safe in this book. Their minds, their souls, their bodies, nobody is safe. This is a very, very dark, gothic Victorian romance set in the West, and I had a fan-fucking-tastic time with this. The trigger warning page in this book, and I said page, it's a page long. It's a fucking page long. And you see every single one of those triggers in multiple forms. This is very, very heavy in the dark environment, but it is a beautifully done dark environment. I loved the world building in the story because not only are we building the actual setting, but the setting of their minds, of where they're at as a character, and then we start seeing some of these characters descent into madness. We get to hear one of our characters, we actually hear voices in theirs, and we see good characters turn into bad characters, and bad characters turn into good characters, and then we know characters are gonna turn in those next installments, which I am super excited about because I really cannot wait for the second book of this one. I cannot wait. I am so pumped about this. This thing was phenomenal. The dark environment created, it was so spellbinding and moving, and this thing had my heart ripped out at the end of the story, and I was kind of numb for a while with the ending that I was not expecting, and I need to know what fucking happens with it. I need to know. I need to know. Like, now. I'm waiting on pins and needles for the second book. So this is stunning. If you love the dark, this is something you want to fucking check out. And it is 750 plus pages, and every page is worth it. And I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. She did such a fantastic job, because not only do we see the beauty in the darkness, there are some light moments in this book that kind of counterbalance it, but even those light moments still have that tinge of darkness that draws me to it, because I mean, everything's better in the dark, isn't it? So those are my recommendations for my favorite setting. My favorite setting is the dark mind, and I have zero fucking issue with it, because every single one of these books has given me a dark mind that I can call home, and that matches my own. So if you guys pick up any of these, let me know. And all of my collab partners will be linked in the down box below. So I will see you guys all soon with another video.